Greetings, this is July 31st, and there are some new image sets available on the Sentinel2 system on the EO browser. I'll put a link in the description below. While most of these images are created on the 28th and 29th, the orbit is every few days or so. There are a few image bands that have just popped up for the 31st, and we'll take a look at those. They don't cover all of our area, but there are some sections of territory that may include your local region. We're looking at an image from high above the Flat Lake fire zone. That's the smoke trail that's just below center on the screen. This image is from the 29th, and we discussed in a previous video some of the atmospheric conditions around Flat Lake, and this is also showing that stark shear band that runs diagonally, north winds to the top, south winds to the bottom, and as they meet right at the Flat Lake fire, there's shifting smoke trails and shifting winds going both northeast and southeast. We've now switched to the false color filter. This enables us to see some of the burn areas and some of that high intensity heat. We're zooming into the southern flank. We can see Alberta Lake on the right-hand side of the screen, Meadow Lake on the left-hand side of the screen, and Meadow Lake Road kind of runs on a diagonal from top to bottom right in the center of the screen. These are images of that fire front as it made its progression southwestwards, and for comparison, these are the heat detections from the MODIS and the VIIRS that we saw on NASA's VIIRS system. Here's that Sentinel imagery once again. We can see Meadow Lake on the lower left-hand side of the screen, and there's a lot of intensity in that pocket on the upper left-hand side of the screen around Valenzuela Creek area. We're zooming out again. We can see the north flank at the top of the screen. There's quite a fire pocket there and almost a circular perimeter. And then over on the right-hand side of the screen, we can see that infrastructure line and Highway 97. That brownish tinged area, that is the burn site. And I was quite pleased to see that even within the burn perimeter, there's still a lot of green areas. There are quite a few pockets that were unaffected. We've moved south now. This is the Tremont Creek fire. This is east of Ashcroft and Cache Creek, south of Wallachine. This image was taken just before it made a major move eastward towards Tonquah, and we can see the lake Tonquah on the lower right hand side of the screen. There's a lot of volatility in that eastern fire flank, and that blue haze is actually the penetration through the smoke. So there was movement of the smoke eastwards, and eventually that fire began to follow. Now we're moving to the White Rock Lake fire, and it's showing those streams of smoke heading in a northeasterly direction. There's two significant fire flanks, the north and the south. Each are moving independently. A check today of the satellite data showed that there was a new file for this area. A color band came through. Most of the fire zone was obscured by cloud, but using that false color filter, we can zoom in to the fire front. But please note the proximity of Vernon and the North Okanagan to the right of the screen. This is a source of a lot of that smoke that's been pouring into the valley. Now we've zoomed into that eastern flank, and we can see where these pockets of intensity almost form their own fire zones with their own perimeters. They have northern flanks and southeastern flanks, and they're beginning to move independently as they find fuel and work their way around terrain. So these are actual photographs of what was happening just a few hours ago. Now we're moving to the South Okanagan, and we're looking at the fires to the east of Oliver and Osuyas. To get a clearer view of these files, you'll want to go to the site yourself and zoom in on your own computer. But in this image, we can see some of that tinged burn area moving up the hill towards the top of the Okanagan Plateau, and we can also see those flickers of flame within the forested areas. Zooming in, we're on the eastern flank at the top of the Okanagan Plateau. There's a straight infrastructure line there. The camera is, we've moved it a little bit north. We're almost adjacent to Oliver now. And just taking a look at some of the burn areas. But again, you'll want to zoom in on your own and spend some time looking at the imagery if you live in this area. This is Okanagan Falls, just to the left of center of the screen, and over to the right we can see that scorched pattern, and at the eastern perimeter of the fire there are those orange glows of flame. Zooming out of the Okanagan Falls fire and looking northwards on top of the Okanagan Plateau, and there are specks of orange flame indication at the top of the screen. If you go to the Sentinel EO browser in the link below, I've set it to a false color right over Kamloops, but if you want to cruise around in it, just find the area of your interest on the map, then hit the Discover tab. Select the Sentinel2 if you like. I find that gives the clearest images. Then scroll down, click on the search button. You'll be presented with file options for the area that you're looking at, and you can scroll through and pick the most recent date, or you can click anywhere on the screen and it'll pull up the file that fills that blue area. Once the file loads, you can select from different filters and explore anywhere within that orbital image band, or if you go outside of that image area, you may have to reload new files. Just repeat the process, go back to the Discover tab. So here we are looking at the fire just to the northwest of Nelson. Nelson is at the lower right-hand side of the screen, just off screen, and we're zooming into that fire zone. We can see the activity on the northeastern flank. That's where the smoke has been pushing, and the wind is probably pushing the fire in that direction. We can also see some flames, small orange dots in the lower left-hand portion of the screen. So the fire is active on all fronts, and that's how this imagery helps us. We look at the infrared on the NASA system, and they are synthetic squares that indicate where fire may be. The Sentinel system allows us to see photographic imagery of the actual fire. Thank you very much for watching. Just leaving you with a few images of rush hour on the bridge out back. Squirrels and ducks. Check out the links below and check the BC Wildfire site, because you want to stay up to date on the ground reports and know what the evacuation alerts and orders are, and check out DRIVEBC for any changes in access routes. Be safe out there and keep your nose to the breeze.